Fall Guys dropped an update today that's so bad that some people are literally expecting the game to shut down. Mediatonic also released a statement that kind of made everything worse, and full disclaimer, this video was made before that statement, so I've added a bit of extra commentary to some parts of the video to account for that, and a lot to the end, but a lot of it is still from before we got this statement. The thing is though, it adds something that people have been waiting nearly 3 years for, so how can it be so bad? Let's look at exactly what this update did, and of course what it didn't do. Let's start off by mentioning Ranked Knockout Cycle 4 with this wonderful golden prize costume I know a lot of people have been waiting for. Really solid, and the rest of the rewards are about what you'd expect based on past cycles, and here's the emoticons on screen if you're interested. There's also a new Ranked Mastery cycle which focuses on Squad Spectacular. We had one of these last update, an Extreme Ranked cycle which lasted 2 weeks and was very difficult. I still haven't gotten around to editing my video on that is coming, I promise, but basically, similar format, just instead of Extreme, it's Squad Spectacular. This is cool because it's the first ever mode that's both squads and ranked, and also the first time that levels made by the community have been featured in a ranked format, since the show has 4 community levels in it. Not a lot, but better than none. The rewards are also roughly the same as the Extreme Ranked cycle, just of course the nicknames say Spectacular instead of Extreme, and it ends with the spinning top emote as the grand reward for reaching gold, which is the highest rank you can achieve in mastery cycles instead of superstar. This one is 15 days long, 1 day longer than the Extreme cycle was, so you have until Wednesday the 1st of October 2025 to reach gold and unlock the emote. It seems a bit more forgiving than Extreme, but you do still lose points if you don't reach the final in silver, so be mindful of that. There's a kudos event coinciding with this, which it's only a few thousand. It's cool, but nobody really cares. As for the mastery cycle, it's not enough to carry an update or anything. A lot of people might not even care to play it, but I'm giving credit where it's due. I think it's neat. I'm really trying to squeeze out all the positives I can before I truly tear this update apart. The update also expanded crown ranks once again. I've touched on this when they've been updated before, but this is a bit mixed. It's great for people to have more cosmetics to work towards, but it's not so great for players with a few hundred crowns, or maybe a few dozen, or maybe none at all, to see that the new total to complete the crown ranks has risen from 7,500 crowns to a whopping 10,000. At 8,000 and 8,500 crowns are the lower and upper of the gold and purple stack costume. At 9,000 and 9,500 are the lower and upper of the golden bean snatcher costume, and the grand reward at 10,000 crowns is this crown of renown. For me, none of these cosmetics are particularly exciting, but it doesn't hurt for them to be available. I know it's unpopular, but personally, I want more non-gold costumes in the crown ranks. Anyways, neat update, I guess. Just, it's irrelevant for probably 99.99% of the player base who isn't anywhere close to 10,000 crowns. Next up is pretty cool. They updated 21 old Mediatonic levels from the past few updates. Some might have been small visual changes or fixes to bugs and exploits. Some might have been more drastic. If you don't care about the list, then you can skip to this timestamp on screen. If you do care, then the full list of levels updated today is as follows: Winter Slime Ball Showdown, Winter Clumsy Caverns, Winter Goop Rope Rodeo, Winter Gold Rush, Slippy Slopes, Valentine's Castle Siege, the Hoppodrome, Dragon Dashes, Slime Ball Showdown, Clumsy Caverns, Goop Rope Rodeo, Gold Rush, Clumsy Crusade, Dodge Dive Survive, Rebound Run, Peer Pressure, April Fool's Dodge Dive Survive, April Fool's Rebound Run, April Fool's Clumsy Crusade, April Fool's Bubbling Brook, and April Fool's Pine Climb. Oof, that's a lot. Now, I'm down for this, but there's just one problem. Well, two technically. One is that a bunch of these are variants that aren't in any shows at the moment. I do not see the reason behind updating Valentine's Castle Siege or April Fool's Rebound Run, for example. And second, they did all this instead of making new levels. That's right, for the first time in about 10 months we got an update that added no new levels. I thought we were done with this being a thing that happens. They really thought updating a bunch of levels, many being unplayable outside of using their codes in a custom lobby, was better than making any new levels at all. I just don't see the rationale behind this. And, you know, they added a neat feature on the 10th of May 2023 that could solve this very thing. With creative mode, the community can make maps that Mediatonic can feature while they're too busy to make their own maps, and yet Fall Guys just doesn't leverage that at all. This could be its own topic for its own video, but like, there's no community maps in Knockout, Ranked, Solos, Duos, or Quads. They're only in a few LTMs, none of which were even updated with the new community levels in this update. They could spend just a day, maybe less, picking maps that people already made for them and have a huge amount of content for this update, but they ignore that and just have no new levels at all. It's quite honestly baffling to me. Along with having no new levels, I think this is a good time to also mention that in creative, there are no new obstacles, no new songs, no new decorations, there's no new background. You get the point. They added 0 things. Nothing in creative, nothing in the rest of the game. Not even a search bar or presets in the locker. I'm not gonna quit asking for those. The last time this happened was the November 2024 update, but back then we at least had more frequent updates. I think roughly 5 or 6 weeks, when nowadays they're 8 weeks. Technically the last Tropical Tides update only lasted standard 7 weeks, but that means assuming this November's update has new stuff in it, there's 15 weeks between Tropical Tides and that, nearly a third of the year without the game having anything new. We've had content routes like this years ago, but I really thought we were done with it once seasons were removed in 2023. I just honestly don't understand how this happened. Mediatonic's statement a day later also really doesn't inspire hope that November's update will have new stuff, but we'll touch on that more later. But like, literally the only thing giving this update its Slime Factory theme is a theme pass. There's quite literally nothing else to go along with it, which sucks because this kind of theme is something I was especially excited for, and I can tell with the cosmetics that the art team can handle this theme amazingly, and then it's not actually in-game. There's no Slime Factory levels to play. Honestly, if you make your own Slime Factory level in creative despite there being no official theme for it, or find one made by somebody else, I'd really appreciate you sending them to me. I think it'd be a cool video and massively help with the disappointment I have of not getting to experience this theme properly. The thing that hurts the most about there being no new levels though, it's not actually that they had no time to make levels. They dropped a trailer for the theme pass as they usually do, and it literally has multiple levels in it. I am not kidding. This has been an ongoing thing for a while. They make unique levels for the theme pass trailers that never make it in game. They're just meant to show off the theme and costumes. So you're telling me they had the time to probably spend hours on these levels for a 30-second trailer that most players won't ever see, instead of giving us literally any in-game content that we can play. This is incredibly infuriating, and I quite honestly have no idea how you can justify something like this. There's a lot of stuff the player base of this game gets outraged at for no reason or greatly exaggerates, and I defend Mediatonic and Fall Guys in most cases, but I think I'm rightfully angry at them creating unplayable levels instead of, you know, adding new content to their game. Clearly they had time to make levels, so they either should have made levels for us to play instead of the Fame Pass advertisement ones, or at least just released the ones they made for this trailer. They seem perfectly playable to me, like actual levels with start and finish lines and obstacles. One of them is a maze, which is an interesting idea. Like, seriously, I can't wrap my head around what happened here. But alright, I'll stop complaining for a moment and I'll get into the last couple positives of this update before I go back to tearing it apart. So when I say the update added nothing, that's not totally true. Remember in the intro I said it adds something that people have been waiting nearly 3 years for? Well, that's a bunch of unvaulted variations that have been missing since SS2 ended. I got this list from RealYeetedBean on Twitter, so huge thanks to him, he's very cool, go drop him a follow. This list will take a minute, so if you don't care about all the exact details you can skip ahead to this timestamp. In Whirligig they invaulted both Trolleybot variations and the SS2 ending. In Fruit Shoot and Jump Club they invaulted the variations with respawning hexaterrestrial tiles. In Perfect Match they unvaulted the Trolleybot version. In Tail Tag there can be respawning hex towers that can have blast balls on them, and the level can also have hover platforms again. In Team Tail Tag they unvaulted the variation with pipes and the one with force fields. In Full Bolt they unvaulted both gravity zone variants and the one with conveyor belts on the sides. Hoopsie Daisy had variations with respawning hex towers, gravity zones and iron thrusters, which are now back. Big Fan's respawning hex tile and gravity zone variant is back, which I'm a very big fan of. Tundra had its low gravity, SS2 conveyor and both respawning hex tile variants unvaulted. Freezy Peak got 4 variants back: iron thrusters at the start, the gravity zone with iron thrusters and hover platforms at the spiral section, and a Trolleybot variant. Stomping Ground, my nemesis, got iron thrusters and respawning hex towers back. Bubble Trouble can once again have an SS2 conveyor and replace one of the sections with a low gravity respawning hex tower section. Almost done now. Full Tilt had all its pipe, gravity zones and respawning hex tower variants brought back. Party Promenade had variants with SS2 conveyors, hover platforms, respawning hex towers, gravity zones and Trolleybots brought back. Pipe Dream had SS2 conveyors, respawning hex towers, iron thrusters, Trolleybots and gravity zones brought back. Finally, Leading Light had iron thruster and Trolleybot variants brought back. Then these variants in Slime Climb, Ski Fall, Treetop Tumble and Leading Light that got brought back last update exclusively to Knockout are now available in every other show too. Right, that was a fairly big list, and some of those variants are genuinely awesome. It will help the game feel more fresh for sure, I don't have complaints. Now, this on top of a normal update would be absolutely fire, it'd be awesome, it'd be incredible, whatever other words you would possibly want to use. This would be a great part of an update, but the problem I have is of course that this is kind of the only content in the update. If you ignore cosmetics, if you ignore previous LTMs being rehashed with ranked slapped on them, then the only content is 3-year-old content that was arbitrarily removed and only just finally brought back. It's cool it came back, but none of this is new. None of these are variations that Mediatonic actually made for the update. Let me repeat, the only new content is 3-year-old content. That right there is where the problem lies. There's just nothing new. Again, if these variant unlocks were slapped on an update that actually had new levels, a new theme and all that, I'd be praising it greatly. You can't use the nostalgia bait of old content to justify this. Anyway, at the start of the video, I touched on the events and rank cycles for September. Well, it seems like we're diving into a bit of a monthly content cycle here. Ranked Squad Spectacular, along with its Kudos event, ends on the 1st of October and will be immediately replaced by a FallGuysDaily event. We'll see a new event to coincide with the return of Treat Thieves, and it'll run for the whole month of October. Again, it is rehashing old content, but again, I want to give credit where credit's due. Treat Thieves is one of my favourite levels. It's good it's returning, and it's good that there's a new event. The version of the event in the live events tab is pretty easy. You need to do 9 out of 10 challenges to unlock the Jacobot costume, and there's also the Jacobot Frights nameplate. It's not the most unique event, it's even reusing assets from 2021, which is not a great sign, but hey, it's there, it's much better than nothing. There's also the harder version of the event in the challenges tab. It's basically what you're used to by now. 5 solos classic wins and 5 ranked knockout wins for the Carbon Gourd costume, and the Toxic Slime suit pattern is also thrown in there. We see this exact format all the time, but again, at least it's something. And also, from the leaks, we already know November's event. Kudos Celebration, which I mentioned at the start of the video as being part of the Ranked Squad Spectacular, well, it returns completely identically for one of the events of all time, Fall Ball Cup Trios Ranked. No, this isn't a joke. First Ranked Mastery cycle was Extreme, now we have Squad Spectacular, so they decided the next logical step is Fall Ball Cup Trios. This is going to be awful for me, I hate Fall Ball, but hey, my opinion is irrelevant, some people will like it and that's why it's here. Again, just about the same format as the other Ranked Mastery cycles, just that the reward at Gold Rank is now the Quick Break emote. So clearly there's a monthly content cycle at this point. Right now it's alternating between Ranked Mastery and not being Ranked Mastery. Not sure if that's coincidence or if it'll continue. And there's two sides to this. On one hand, you know there's something new to do in the game every month. A new event complete and or a new Ranked Mastery cycle to try and conquer. I think that's cool. But on the other hand, it's all rehashed content and that's clearly the intention. Squad Spectacular isn't new, making it ranked probably takes very little effort. Treat Thieves isn't new and the event is mostly past stuff repurposed with some unused cosmetics in the files slapped on. Then for Fall Ball Cup, it's the same point as Squad Spectacular. Then presumably, this isn't a leak but just an assumption, so full disclaimer, I might be wrong, but December's content will probably be the Snow Day Stumble Show with previous winter themed levels and no promise of anything new being part of it. So I have a similar point to make here as I had with the SS2 variant unvaults. This is a cool thing on its own, having an extra monthly thing to do alongside other content is just objectively good, nobody can argue with that. But the fact they made this decision alongside an update with no actual content is one of the main things that's worrying the community, and if I'm being honest, it's worrying me as well. So this is the main topic of the video and the main concerning thing that's leading to the speculation of the game either dropping support or totally shutting down. See, it's not just that they have this kind of monthly content cycle set up that they can maintain with little effort. It's also the fact that in the game's files, in the past 2 updates, they added so many cosmetics. And I mean so many, like several times more than usual. This alone might not be a red flag, maybe they just want to release more to try and make more money, but number one, they never seem to release new cosmetics in the shop anymore for some reason unless it's a collab, which is definitely losing the money for no reason, but that's besides the point. Number two is that some of the cosmetics themselves are very future-proof to say the least. There's Halloween cosmetics, that's fine, the next update is meant to be after Halloween anyway. There's winter/Christmas themed cosmetics, okay, but they normally have that kind of stuff in the 1000 update or so early, so that's okay. There's several Fame Pass themes worth of costumes, emotes, celebrations and all of that, okay, that's weird. Then there's Easter stuff. How many days until Easter? 200 days. Right, that's probably a concern. But then, you see, right, a lot of you probably know that Fall Guys' 5th anniversary was last month, on the 4th of August, and yet in this update, they added a 6th anniversary banner. This is 11 months away, and this is one of the main points people are worried about. Why would they add stuff like this so early if they're planning on updating the game every couple months with new content? And back to the previous point, this happened alongside an update with no content, and an update where they switched to a monthly content cycle where the game can run borderline on autopilot, honestly. Just a few people can come into the Mediatonic office for a day and probably set up months worth of these ranked mastery cycles and seasonal events like Treat Thieves. Again, this kind of monthly content cycle is fine to coexist with the updates we're used to, it's just a really concerning combination of things that happened all at once. So what could happen in the future? Well, luckily the patch notes for this update seem to indirectly confirm that the next update is on the 11th of November 2025 as expected, 8 weeks from this one, which is exactly what we're used to. When they talk about the Kudos Celebration event, they end with, if you haven't gathered enough enough of them, there'll be a rerun of the event at the end of the update. And as we talked about with Fall Cup, a rerun of the Kudos event happens during it, which just so happens to end on the 11th of November. Of course, just bear in mind, small chance of a delay, like the last Tropical Tides update got pushed back by a week, but they're clearly planning to do a November update. So the short answer of what might happen in the future is that the November update will answer it for you. If it's a big update with a new theme and new levels and all that like we got used to before, then we're good, and this is a one-off, and stuff like the monthly cycle and stuff to help the game run on autopilot is a whole big coincidence that just accidentally created a huge mess. If the November update ends up being the same as this one, where it's just new Fame Pass, continuing the monthly recycled content, maybe a few unvaulted variants, maybe something like Block Party returning, but nothing other than that, like no new levels or decorations or features or anything, that's probably when you'd actually want to worry. There's also Mediatonic's statement that I promise I'm almost ready to talk about that definitely expands that worry. People love jumping to the worst conclusions though, so let's play worst case scenario and assume that November's update doesn't have any content and this is really it. What does that mean for the game? Well, there's three paths that have been speculated. First one is that the game just continues running on autopilot for years to come, not really anything new coming, but they'll recycle content for as long as they can keep people interested, and you'll be good to keep playing as long as you want to. Second one is that they announce the game is shutting down next year. Third case is that Epic Games wants to kill this version of Fall Guys, whether it's literally shutting it down or just having it on autopilot, in favour of porting it into Fortnite. This is, funnily enough, the one people are fearing the most. If you're unfamiliar, Fortnite has been going in the direction of becoming a Roblox competitor for quite a few years now. They want to be a metaverse TM with a bunch of games, so they made stuff like Fortnite Festival and even a spin-off of another game they bought, Rocket League, called Rocket Racing. Fall Guys actually already exists in Fortnite, albeit a budget version. They launched a Fall Guys thing inside UEFN, which was cool for about 10 minutes, but they just never touched it after that, and it's just kind of been left to rot and nobody cares about it. For me, I thought it was cool, but the physics and stuff were really whack compared to the Fall Guys I'm used to. So some people are speculating that Epic Games would kill Fall Guys, which is still one of the biggest games in the world, by the way. I know it doesn't seem like it at times, but it really is. People are speculating Epic would kill it just to grow their silly metaverse TM by putting it in there. So you can speculate on it being any of these three cases: autopilot, total shutdown, or a Fortnite port. But in my personal opinion, what I strongly recommend you to do is to not lean too hard into any of those, because we really need one of two things to happen first. Either the November update to actually see what the future of the game is, because as I said before, this could easily be a one-off. We had an update with no content literally 10 months ago. This is something that just happens sometimes. I originally had a whole section in here saying that another alternative, instead of waiting for November's update, was to keep making noise on social media and in the comments, and by making sure you engage with this video to get it as far in the algorithm as possible and all of that stuff, to make Mediatonic listen to us and give us some kind of statement to explain what's going on. And after roughly 36 hours of the update being out and the outrage starting, they did give us a statement explaining what's next for the future of Fall Guys. This is enough of a big deal that I want to make a second video, this one being more about the state of this specific update, and the next one being more about what this means for the next update, next few months, next year, or honestly however long this game lives. The statement is as follows: Beans, we've seen the chatter around what's coming next for Fall Guys, and here's what to expect going forward. New ranked cycles every 8 weeks, the return of vaulted levels, limited time modes plus live events to shake the party up, new fame passes, see you in the Blunderdome. Okay, good that we got communication, but you might notice one teeny tiny problem with it. We already discussed in this video that we know the ranked cycles are continuing, we know unvaults will continue, we know we'll continue having shows return and events alongside some of them, and we know that we have fame passes continuing. We know all this. This update had all that despite everything. You might notice they failed to mention literally anything that anyone had any concerns about. They do not mention anything about the future of new levels, the future of new updates, or anything like that. They mention the things that we already talked about being on autopilot, but not truly being new content. So there's two possibilities here. One is that they truly messed up and this is the worst communication of all time and they somehow forgot to mention all that stuff. Or the second is that they actually aren't planning for future updates to have anything truly new. We can hope for the first possibility, but realistically I don't know about that. There's a chance the November update will end up having new levels or new creative features, and also a chance that Mediatonic will make another new statement very soon clarifying that we will still get new content sometimes. But there's also a chance that November's update is the same as this one. Just as the tweet says, new fame pass, new ranked cycle, and will continue the monthly LTMs and events, but nothing more. And if that's the case, then there's also two ways for that to go. It could be that they're taking a few months to work something out, I have no idea what. It could unironically be the Fortnite integration at this point, or it could be a new plan for the game's updates where we at least get some kind of new levels or creative objects or something. Or it could be that this is is how Fall Guys will be from now on. Not something I want to come to terms with, but at this point it could very well be this way. It's not 100% bad. Like, new fame passes and events can keep my attention for a while. Maybe I'll still grind for the last few thousand crowns for the new crown rank 85 reward at 10,000, and there's still community content in exploring just by finding map codes to play in customs. I've stuck with this game throughout its biggest content droughts, and long-time viewers of mine will know that. They'll know the absolute level of passion I have for this game. But if nothing changes, and this is how it ends up being, then it's obviously not lasting forever for me or anyone. I've played consistently for the past 5 years, but obviously there's gonna very much be a drop-off if there's no new levels to check out, no new themes to see people making levels in, no new features to care about, etc. I don't quite know what the future holds. I'll dive deeper in my next video. No matter your feelings on the future of the game or this update or anything like that though, I truly hope you'll stick with me. I still have plenty of Fall Guys content to make. I'll always keep you updated if this whole situation develops any further. Maybe it's in vain, but if anyone from Mediatonic is watching this, which is more likely if people like the video by the way, then I just ask for better communication first off, and second, if this really is the direction the game's going in, I hope it can be rethought. I'll have ideas on exactly how the game can be saved in my next video, but in the meantime I recommend everyone in the community to continue voicing their opinions on social media, in the comments of this video, anywhere. Well, anywhere except directly towards developers. Every time something goes bad with this game, I see some harassment aimed at them, and that's just not okay. Don't do that. And don't be hateful or anything, but make your voice heard. A lot of people are trying to revive the hashtag Save Fall Guys from SS2's vaulting situation. Feel free to try and get that trending. The future of Fall Guys does look a little bleak to say the least, but time will tell if we can see it turn around once again. If you turn on notifications, you'll be the first to know any further developments with this and see my next video going more in depth on this topic and more of what to expect in the future. Time for me to get to work on more videos. If you're feeling down about this, then here's some great content that should lighten your mood, and hopefully I'll see you soon.